Okay, everybody, how are you all? Elsa Morgan here, and we are live with you with the amazing Les Brown. Are you hungry? Because I'm hungry. Now, for those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Elsa Morgan. I'm a wife, I'm a mom, and I also have a global home business. I'm a coach as well with the industry of network marketing. And today I have the absolute honor and pleasure to interview the one and only Les Brown, who I'm sure all of you know who he is, and he really doesn't need an introduction. He's known everywhere around the world. I was totally fangirling before we came on, let me tell you. So for me, this is definitely the best of the best out of all of the experiences that I've had out of marrying Olaf and having my two children. I have to say that. But for those of you who don't know much about Les, he was born in Florida. He was adopted early in life. In fact, when him and his brother, and he absolutely adores his adopted mother, Mammy, and he was also mentored by another great, proximity is power, Jim Rohn, the late Jim Rohn, who I absolutely love as well and love following his work. And so I'm absolutely honored. Les, and I know everyone has been waiting in anticipation to hear you, because I know that you've got a message out for the world to share love and positivity, and you've got exciting things happening at the moment. But tell me a little bit about you. I've got some questions, if you don't mind me asking about.
I would love for you to ask me some questions. I want to first of all just thank you for the opportunity to be able to spend some time with you, and it would be my pleasure to answer some questions and to be of service to you. That's what you do for queens. You serve them.
You're talking to my heart here. So obviously, I mentioned before you were adopted, and you were also as you were studying in school, you were labelled as like you were uneducable, retarded, and which I found fascinating, because look at where you are right now, right? Talk about right? They got that wrong. But how did that serve you in terms of persevering and just being resilient? Because I find, Les, that now in moments like these, in times like these, resilience is absolutely key with us. Enduring what we're going through right now globally. There's so much negativity, and everyone's uncertain and they're afraid. How can we leverage your experience with what you experience in life right now?
Well, first of all, I want to just give you just kudos for the great work you've been doing to transform people's lives and to give them hope, because when there's hope in the future, that gives you power in the present. What's very important right now, this place where we have never been before, is that we have to anchor ourselves mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. This is a strange place. And while we are being mindful and keeping social distance from people and the refrigerator.
Ain't that the truth? Ain't that the truth? Oh, goodness me. It's creeping up.
Yes. And so the thing is that turn that on for me, please. So during this time, we have to thank you. And so during this time, being still, going within, getting centered, and facing ourselves, it's very important. It was Viktor Frankl in his book called Man's Search for Meaning, and he said that adversity introduces a man or woman to themselves. And so this is a time for exploration. This is a time for getting still. This is a time for listening to the heart and living a heart-centered life, and beginning to rethink our lives, because we've been so disrupted. Sometimes life can knock you senseless. And over every year that comes through, one of the things that we know, and Viktor Frankl said it, that in life you will be in a problem or just left one or headed toward one. You know, that when you wake up in the morning, wherever you're going, there's something coming for you, and we don't know what that's going to look like. And so during that time, we have to begin to realize, if you wake up and you got a pulse and there's not a chalk outline around your body, that life is on your side, because you are still here and you have an opportunity to move forward and to make a difference and to fulfill the purpose of your life. And so at this stage of my life, at 75, it's been an adventure. You know, Horace Mann said that we should be ashamed to die until we've made some major contribution to humankind. And so I've been reflecting on my life, and I always ask myself, as well as audiences that I have the opportunity to speak to, if you had your life to live over again, could you have done more than what you've done thus far? And the answer for me has been yes. And so I wake up in the morning saying, first of all, Lord, whatever I face today, together, you and I can handle it. Lord, whatever I face today, together, you and I can handle it, because we're going to face some stuff. Forrest Gump was right when he said, life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. That's all I got to say about that.
I know you know what, I absolutely love how you reference Viktor Frankl as well, because and that quote, you know, man in Man's Search for Meaning, about man doesn't know himself until he faces adversity. This is so true. I mean, because you know, I know there was a point in time in my life in my 30s where I just existed. Do you know what I mean? Like I took I kind of looked at things that were, you know, that were not really fulfilling in the soul and the heart as things that were a priority in my life, right? Like handbags and shoes. I know we all go through this as women.
We all go through that, yes. Yes, we all go through that phase. Yeah.
And I can so resonate with that, because it wasn't until I faced adversity that I really, truly discovered who I was. So I can totally relate with that. And definitely how you said, now is a great time for inner reflection and to really discover what it is that we want to do with life. I mean, for me, I find that connection is much more important for me right now with people, and making sure that I don't lose touch with people. And so I make it a point to actually reach out to friends and reach out to people and say, hey, are you okay? Because I think, you know, while social media can gloss over and people look okay on social media, but in reality, so many are privately struggling. And I think, you know, that point where you say, where you wake up and you can say, hey, you've got a pulse, you don't have a chalk line around you, you're okay. I think that's it's going to be a message of hope for a lot of people.
But I think it's also important for people to enjoy the silence. If you can spend some time alone, that there's so many distractions, and to get still and to know that you are greater than the adversities that life will throw at you. And they're going to be coming. All of us have been in situations where we felt, when something happened to us, I don't know how I can get through this. And we got through. We got to the other side. When we lost someone that we loved very much, or we went through a divorce that we did not expect, or lost our jobs, something tragic happened. Every year, all of us will experience at least 3 tragedies. Something's going to happen to us or someone that we care about. And having the mental resiliency to handle it and to know that we are stronger than we give ourselves credit for. I never forget when I was diagnosed with cancer, my oncologist, who had an unusual sense of humor, he said, Mr. Brown, you have prostate cancer. Your PSA it's 2,400. I said, what does that mean? He said, 1 to 4 is normal. And He said, it has metastasized to 7 areas. And I smiled. He said, why are you smiling? I said, 7 is my lucky number. Oh, he said, wow. He looked at his nurse and said, this is a strange one we have here. I said, can you give me a second opinion? He said, yes. And you're ugly too. I said, I know he didn't just call me ugly, did you? He said, yes, I did. And then he said, but you got this.
Yeah.
You got this. We determine the diagnosis. You and God determines the prognosis. You got this. And so when he talked to me, the way he spoke, he said, I don't tell patients they're terminally ill. I tell them my knowledge and my abilities and my skill to help you has terminated. Now you have to explore some other options. And so because of that conversation, when I left there with a heart full of faith and not fear. And we're in a place where many people feel a great deal of fear. And I remember something Zig Ziglar said about fear. Fear, he said, the majority of people in a fearful situation, they forget everything and run. But there's a small number who face everything and rise. And so people who listen to your program, what you do is literally you interrupt their vision of themselves, how people live their lives as a result of the story they believe about themselves. And so through the elevated conversations and the guests that you have and your positive awareness and consciousness, that you begin to expand a person's vision of themselves beyond their adversities, beyond the pain and the trauma that they're going through, and begin to know that they can get through this. And this has not come to stay, it has come to pass.
Exactly. And I just want to make an observation. You have a very calming, way about you. How do you start your day? Because I'm curious, because I meditate, I say obviously my gratitudes, and I meditate for 20 minutes, but I'm curious to know, like, you are so centered, Les, like I'm highly strung most of the time, operating at peak level as I operate, but I would love to be at calm and carry myself the way that you do. Like, what advice would you give for someone like me, because there's many of me around the world, that would be able to measure their energy and their state just like you, because that's really impressive.
I'm going to answer this in 2 ways. Number one, when I wake up in the morning, my favorite book, I always quote, all things work together for good for those who love God and for those who are called according to his purpose. And then I say this affirmation that I have it prominently so I can remember, Lord, whatever I face today, together you and I can handle it. And then I review the goals that I want to achieve that day, the 7 things I want to get out of the day. And I write those down the night before. Most people don't have an agenda for their lives, and so therefore they're part of somebody else's agenda. Now, having said that, I was upstairs, and I got to be honest with you and open. Can I be honest and transparent right now?
Absolutely. We're all about that.
I was upstairs in my room, and I had the television on, and I usually don't watch. And I was watching CNN, and they were talking about the coronavirus and how it was spreading. And so I'm upstairs, 3rd floor, nobody home but me. And I sneezed, and I ran out the room.
That was the sign. That was the sign.
Nobody was in there but me, and I came back with my lights on. It started spreading everywhere. And so my son came upstairs and he said, what are you doing? I said, I just sneezed. He said, Dad, ain't nobody here but you. I turned the television off. I said, oh my God, I'm losing it. I think I'm having a meltdown.
That is.
Yeah. But the thing is that we're here because of God's grace and mercy. And some stuff you just got to laugh at. And I like something what St. Francis said, Lord, grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And so when we operate and govern our thinking, our thoughts and our spirit and emotions from that place, I read 30 to 40 pages of something positive every day. And I laugh a lot. Laughter, it fortifies your immune system. My doctor said to me, I want you to talk to my father. And I said, why? He said, my father has prostate cancer and he has given up. And for you to have had fourth stage cancer for 27 years and have so much laughter and joy, he said, my father's PSA is only 14, yours 2,400. He said, my God, yeah. He said, I just want you to talk to it for me because your mindset is very important in the healing process. And so we can't control the thoughts that come in our minds, but we can control the thoughts that we dwell on. And that's why it's important that we get still, that we listen to our heart, that we be mindful of what we expose our minds to and what we see and hear. Why? We say, well, garbage in, garbage out. That works for computers, but it doesn't work for human beings. Garbage in, garbage stays, and it shows up in your attitude and how you feel about yourself. And bad news will weaken your immune system. 1 minute of anger weakens your immune system for 4 to 5 hours. When you get some bad news, it compromises your immune system by 40%. So we want to be mindful of the things that we read, the things that we watch, the things that we listen to. I have music that I listen to in the morning. I meditate 3 times a day, and I go for meditation walks. And I have quality people in my life, collaborative, achievement-driven, supportive relationships, people that I'm there for them and they're there for me. When we have those moments in the Garden of Gethsemane, when we take some hits and we need someone to bring us back to ourselves, to anchor ourselves and to say to us, you got this. It's very important. This is no time to isolate yourself in this place where we are.
That was just, I'm going to watch that over and over again. I took so many notes from that. One story I really, really love about you, and I've told a lot of people about it because I'm a big believer in what you speak about, you bring about. And you have this fascinating story. And I don't know who Robert Teller is, but I know that early on in your life, you really wanted to be on his show. And I remember you telling the story, and it's on you. And so I watch it all the time because it really reinforces in my mind about being absolutely sure about what you want to bring into your life. And you wanted to be on his show. And I remember you saying, I rang up the show and I said to them, hey, I want to be on your show. And they said, have you done anything of meaning? Have you done anything impactful on your life? And you said, no. Have you written a book? No. Well, come back when you do and we'll see. And so throughout the course of the following 12 to 18 months, I know everyone you would meet, you'd say, hey, I'm going to be on the Robert Teller show. And people would say, really, when? And you go, I don't know when. I just know that it's happening. Do you know him? No. Do you know anyone who knows him? And I remember when I listened to it the first time, I went, wow, that's just someone that truly believed that he was going to be on this show. And the circumstances that led you to actually be on his show eventually were fascinating. Hey, and could you share elements of that story? Because I
did that for about 2 years, and I was on a flight flying from Detroit to Chicago, and a gentleman named Lafayette Jones seated next to me, 5 people on the flight. They said coincidence is God's way of staying anonymous. And I
Yes.
said, hi, my name is Les Brown. He said, my name is Lafayette Jones. I said, I'm going to be on the Robert Schuller show. He said, you are? I said, yes. He said, when? I said, I don't know. I said, do you know Robert Schuller? He said, no. He said, but the guy that I work for, he knows Robert Schuller. In fact, he donated $1 million to his ministry. I said, is that right? He said, what do you do? I said, I'm a speaker. He said, you gotta be kidding. I said, no. He said, man, I've just been going through it because the speaker we booked, he canceled. He said, are you good? I said, people say I'm very good. He said, are you available? I said, yes. And he asked me how much I charge. And I just started out, so I didn't know how to charge him. And I said, what have you allocated? He said, $5,000. I said, that'll do, that'll do.
And you go, what?
Yes, I am so glad you reminded me of that story. And so they invited me there to speak. And when I spoke, Mr. Robert Johnson ran to the podium and said, young man, you are very good. If I can ever do anything for you, please let me know. I said, I want to be on the Robert Schuller show. He said, I know him and I got you. And so the next morning at Riverfront Apartments, Mr. Schuller called me. Hello, may I speak to Les Brown, please? I said, yes. I said, who is this? He said, this is Robert Schuller. I said, no, it's not. He said, it is. I said, hold it a minute. I dropped the phone. I said, I'm going to the bathroom, but I'll be right back. It's number 1. I was so excited. I had to go to the bathroom right away. So I came back. I said, okay, hello, Mr. Schuller. I'm so sorry to have you waiting. He said, you're really excited, aren't you? I said, yes, sir. So he scheduled me to be on his program. In fact, I did it 3 different times, but I just decided to practice the 3-yard rule that if anybody within 3 feet of me introduced themselves to me or I introduced myself to them, I would tell them I'm going to be on the Robert Schuller show. I held the vision, thou shalt decree a thing and it shall be established unto you. I spoke the words. I'll give thee, when you hold a vision of that which you want, we've all had the experience of someone that we were thinking about and they just called us out of the blue. And so I held the vision, I spoke it, and I engaged in action. I believed every time somebody said no, I said, there's going to be somebody who knows this man that I'm going to eventually run into. And sure enough, it did happen.
That was just, I mean, when I first heard it, it was such an amazing story. I said, I have to ask him that question when I found out we were
No
connected.
one has ever asked me that question in 51 years.
Ah, really?
No.
I thought one of the most impactful stories you shared on stage, and I watch that clip all the time. I really do.
Thank you. Yes, I haven't done that. I only did it once, but now I'm bringing it back because of you.
Relevant now. And talk to me about your adopted mum, because I know she played an important part in your life, and I know that this is something that she is someone that you held the vision for her, like in everything that you do and you've done. She has always been at the forefront of everything that you've done. Can you share with me, like, what it was, being adopted, obviously, but also the connection and the bond that you had with your mom, because it's so special.
I always say to audiences, I'm here because of 2 women. One gave me life, the other one gave me love. That God took me out of my biological mother's womb and placed me in the heart of my adopted mother. That I feel like Abraham Lincoln, who said, all that I am and all that I ever hope to be, I owe to my mother. Mama, she only had a 3rd grade education. She took in foster kids, and I was one of the foster kids. She altogether 7, and then she adopted us. and she worked for wealthy families on Miami Beach. I was born in an abandoned building on a floor with a twin brother. And she took us in at 6 weeks of age. And she promised our birth mother that she will never separate us and she would take good care of us. We will never go to bed hungry and we will always have clothes on our back. And I promised her that I would buy her a home. I would take care of her when I became an adult. She used to take me to work with her. The neighbors would look out and take care of the other 6 kids, but they didn't want to deal with me. They said, Mamie, you take him with you. He's got too much energy, and I think he's a little touched in the head. so Mama said, he'll be all right. I'll take him with me. And so I'm a mama's boy. And so I promised her I would take care of her. I was a state legislator in Columbus, Ohio, and I just got elected my 3rd term. And so my sister called me and said, Leslie, are you sitting down? And I said, what's wrong with Mama? She said, Mama's got breast cancer. I said, I'll be there. She said, oh, you don't have to be there. We can handle this. There are a lot of nursing homes in Dade County, Miami. And I said, no, Mama never wanted to go into a nursing home. I'll be there. And I hung up the phone. I took a plane the next day, left my political ambitions and everything behind. When I rung the doorbell, a friend of hers named Mildred was there. And she came to the door. She said, whoa. She said, Mamie, Leslie's here. And I heard my mother say, I knew he would come. I knew he would come. And when I came in, they'd had boxes all packed with her stuff. I said, you can unpack all of that. We got this. We will take care of Mama ourselves. She raised 7 will take care of her. And so I fulfilled the dream. I bought Mama several homes before she passed, 4 altogether. And she was a person who never met a stranger, and she had a lot of energy and a great sense of humor. People call me Mamie's boy. I used to speak and in my speeches still do, saying this has been Mrs. Mamie Brown's baby boy, because our personalities are so much alike. And she has been the greatest source of inspiration and impact in my life, because I always wanted to make her proud. She made her transition at 89. I took care of her when I turned 18. I said, when I turn 18, you'll never pay another bill. You can just relax and enjoy life. And she did. She would love to go fishing and things of that nature, and I would go with her. And we had a great time, great life together. I'm her baby boy.
Yeah, I love that. I really love it. And you can just feel the love, Les. You can truly feel the love through your words. It's just so impressive, because I can feel the connection. And I'm sure the audience can as well. And I love that. And the other thing that I really love about your story, before I let you go, and I do want to ask you about what projects you've got and what's coming with Les Brown, but final question is about Jim Rohn. I have to ask you, because like he's someone else that I also follow, and the story of how you came across him, and then the story of how both of you together impacted so many lives. Like, what are some of the things that you can tell us about what you learned from Jim Rohn that really impacted you and made you or helped you develop into the leader and the mentor that you are today?
He was a perpetual student,
Yep.
He was always taking notes. I was in Singapore and I was on stage and Jim had already spoken and I was speaking and he had his tablet out, he's taking notes, and I stopped. I said, Jim, this is your stuff delivered with soul. You could put the pen down, my brother. And he cracked up. We spoke before 10,000 people, and I honored him in that speech. And he said, no one has ever done this to me before. and given me credit. They've stolen my stuff, but you've always given me credit for what you learned from me. And I said, because you taught me the value of expanding your knowledge, that you're never too old to learn and you're never too young to teach. There are so many people are failing in life because all that they know is all that they will ever know, because they don't understand the value that life is about growth and expanding and going to the next level. And as a result of that, thinking that they know all that's possible for their lives, they cripple themselves. And I got that from Jim, the value of continuously growing and expanding. We're in this era of what the late Peter Drucker calls the era of the 3 C's: accelerated change, overwhelming complexity, and tremendous competition, that we have to continue to expand our vision of ourselves and begin to understand that attention is the new currency. Your ability to communicate and to draw attention to yourself and to create an experience around the attention. I train speakers how to tell their story, to draw attention to yourself, because when people hear you, they're asking 3 questions. Who are you? What do you have? And why should I care? And then you have to hold the attention by creating an experience with it. When I came into the industry, it was based upon giving information from the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And my mentor, Mike Williams, he wrote the book, The Road to Your Best Stuff, The Road to Your Best Stuff. Mike said, Brownie? I said, yes. He said, if information could change people, everybody would be skinny, rich, and happy. He said, when you speak, he said, you want to, 1, tell your story, 2, create an experience strategically with your story so that you distract, dispute, and inspire. You draw attention to yourself, you hold the attention, and then you direct the attention. With the delivery of your story, you disrupt their current belief system and inspire them to become, as Mother Teresa would say, a pencil in the hand of God, and start writing a new chapter in their lives.
Yep. I love how you're connected with God, and that just is so inspiring for me, because I know there was once upon a time where because I'm a person that tunes into God regularly. I wear a rosary bead every day. Mm-hmm. And I know once upon a time, I was told that it was just not the done thing to speak about God and faith on social media. But, you know, to have a mentor like yourself who openly talks about his connection with God is so inspiring for me, and gives me strength in knowing that it's okay to be able to talk about how I relate to God, because my philosophy with me is, you know, God's got my back. Like, whatever I'm going through right now, I know he's standing beside me with his hand on my shoulder going, it's going to be okay. And so I thank you for that. And tell me, what's happening with Les Brown? Because I know that you've got an event coming up very, very soon. I think it's this month or perhaps next month, you've got an event. I've seen it in stories and on social media. But what else is happening with Les Brown that maybe our audience can tap into as well?
I'd like for people to go to IamHungryLesBrown.com. IamHungryLesBrown.com. My brand new book that I'm so proud of. It's called You've Got to Be Hungry.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
And people have said they have never read anything like it. So many people, over 50% said they read it in one sitting. They sat down and could not put it down because of how it's written. They felt like I was there with them. And it took over 20 years to get here, 21 years, and 3 times 7 is 21.
You're good at maths.
Yes, I did the math on it. Because it's one thing to speak for the ear, but it's different to write for the eye. And that's what took so much time. But I wasn't going to die with it in me. I teach people live full and die empty. We don't know when we're going to leave here. When I think about the actor who just made his transition, and he did a lot of work before leaving here, and Chadwick Boseman. And I believe it's incumbent upon all of us to live each day as Frank Sinatra once said, when I was with him in Caesar's Palace, at a time that I was looking at what was I going to do next. He said, live each day as if it were your last, because one day it will be. And I never forgot that. And that's what we should all do, especially when we look at now. You want to begin to know, live your dream now, because now's all we have, and give it everything that you've got. Do what you can where you are with what you have, and never be satisfied.
Love that. Never be satisfied. I love that, because there's so many people that question, how is it that you know certain people achieve certain things? It's because of that very last bit that you just said, never be satisfied, is because I have this healthy dissatisfaction of just wanting more out of life. So ladies and gentlemen, it's been an absolute pleasure and honor to have this time to spend some time and a good laugh with Les Brown. We're also going to have this on the podcast as well. So everybody can listen to that as they're driving over and over again. There's a lot of gold nuggets there. I am hungrylesbrown.com. You can grab the book. So
Yes.
make sure that you go.
But also I do one-on-one coaching with people who want to learn how to tell their story to create a national and global impact. And they could just email me directly at lesbrown77@gmail.com. lesbrown77, 7 is my lucky number, at gmail.com.
lesbrown77@gmail.com to get some private one-on-one coaching with Les, to tell your story as well. That would be a fantastic opportunity. I know a lot of people would take that up, Les. And so thank you so much. Like, this has been such an honor for me, and I will definitely be reading your new book. I'm so grateful for the time that you spent with us, and I hope you have an amazing day. No doubt you will, but don't watch CNN by yourself, okay?
No, constant negative news, no more. No. I want to say this, you have something special, you have greatness in you. And thank God that you've decided to live a life that will outlive you.
Thank you so much. The honor is mine.
Bye for now.
Bye for now. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.